All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. And is it Monday? I think it's Monday, and it's winter in Los Angeles, or winter in America, if you want to refer to a really good Gil Scott-Heron song. Anyways, greetings all. Early chatters are in. Welcome. One and all. And we have Urban Hermit on Rockfin. He says, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Hey. So come hang out with me and the others on the Rockfin. ROKFIN.com, where there are no ads, no suppression, no compression. Comprende? Rockfin is, is it on premium? Shooty. Sorry about that. I can't change it now. Crapo. Sorry. I can change it after we're done. I don't know. If anybody has premium, you can come hang out with me. I usually tick that button, but I forgot this morning. My apologies. Well, if you have premium, you can watch me on Rockfin. Otherwise, I got 6 watching on Rockfin, so I guess we got some premiums. I don't know. I just changed it to free. You can come check it out. Let me know if it's working or not on the free. If not, you have to watch it. It'll be free after the live stream. Hello, Basil Peterson, Rich Diana, CB Unglesby, Ross Cobbin, Raza, J Thadcast. Hunter Z says, missing your intro music. Yeah, I know. I just, I want to bring it back, but I have, it's creating kind of a weird thing with YouTube when I play it, which is really stupid and unfortunate. It's just really dumb. Maybe there's a way I can resolve that, but I will try. Future Exploratorium. Yes, actually, I'm going to talk about the link that you sent. I think that's what you're talking about. Still premium? Okay. Well, my apologies, guys. It's still going on Rockfin. Some of y'all can watch me on Rockfin. And will be free after the show. My bad. I just forgot to click the button. It's a little frustrating. But it is what it is. So let's get into it. This from The Guardian this morning. Global ice loss accelerating at record rate. Study finds. That's not good. Rate of loss now in line with worst case scenarios of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. That's not good. The melting of ice across the planet is accelerating at a record rate. If you weren't paying attention, for all those playing at home, yeah, would be the answer to that. With the melting of the Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets speeding up the fastest, research has found. The rate of loss is now in line with the worst case scenarios of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the world's leading authority on the climate, according to a paper published on Monday in the journal The Cryosphere. An apt name, right? The Cryosphere. Because if you understand what's going on, you'd be crying too. Thomas Slater, lead author and research fellow at the Center for Polar Observation and Modeling at the University of Leeds, warned that the consequences would be felt around the world. Sea level rise on this scale will have very serious impacts on coastal communities this century, but sea level rise is not the least of our problems or the worst of our problems. I meant worst of our problems, not least of our problems. Strike that, reverse that, as Willy Wonka used to say. Yeah, if you're worried about sea level coming in, and it is impacting people right now. Sea level is actually having an impact on local communities right now. Look at the city of Miami or Miami or Miamis. San Diego. There's a community in San Diego that's been affected by king tides. Balboa Island, very close to here, affected by a large king tide this last summer or last year. Hawaii being affected by king tide. So sea level rise is already having an impact. But again, probably the least of our worries in the short run. About 28 tons of ice was lost between 1994 and 2017, which the authors of the paper calculate would be enough to put an ice sheet 100 meters thick across the UK. That's a lot of ice. About 2/3 of the ice loss was caused by the warming of the atmosphere, with about 1/3 caused by the warming of the seas. Well, if the atmosphere doesn't get you, the seas will. Over the period studied, the rate of ice loss accelerated by 65%. The paper found from 0.8 tons a year in the 1990s, or 0.8 trillion tons, to 1.3 trillion tons a year by 2017. About half of all the ice lost was from land, which contributes directly to global sea level rise. The ice loss over the study period from 1994 to 2017 is estimated to have raised sea levels by 35 millimeters. Kuro Hikes, thanks for the super chat. He says, I can't swim. Hashtag thug life. Hashtag everybody in the boat. The greatest quantities of ice were lost from floating ice in the polar regions, raising the risk of a feedback mechanism known as albedo loss. White ice reflects solar radiation back into space, the albedo effect, but when floating sea ice melts, it uncovers dark water, which absorbs more heat, speeding up the warming. Further in a feedback loop, glaciers showed the biggest loss of ice volume, with more than 6 trillion tons lost between 1994 and 2017, about a quarter of the global ice lost over the period. My apologies, guys. I was reading some numbers back here earlier, and I just said, where was I at? Oh, when I read the number of about 28 trillion tons of ice was lost. Not 20, I think I read 28 tons of ice was lost between 1994 and 2017. 28 trillion tons. Sorry. Let me correct myself. The shrinking of glaciers threatens to cause both flooding and water shortages in some regions. Because as large volumes melt, they can overwhelm downstream areas. Then shrunken glaciers produce less of the steady water flow needed for agriculture. Inez Otosaka, report co-author and a PhD researcher at the University of Leeds Center for Polar Observation and Modeling, said, as well as contributing to global mean sea level rise, mountain glaciers are also critical as a freshwater resource for local communities. The entire western coast, northwest of the United States and into Canada, has seen a drop in, and I believe actually almost universally across the northern hemisphere, we've seen snowfall decrease, snowfall levels, and therefore snowpack levels, therefore the ice and the snow that is generally, in high up places that provide fresh water all year round for downstream, rivers, lakes, etc. That is shrinking, shrinking, shrinking. It is going down. The retreat of glaciers around the world is therefore of crucial importance at both local and global scales. The study titled Earth's Ice Imbalance, or IE, that's my acronym, IE, or EI, used satellite observations over the 23-year period to assess ice all over the globe. Previous studies have examined parts of the world rather than making a comprehensive assessment of the data. The research team included the University of Edinburgh, University College London, and Earthwave, a data science organization, and was funded by UK Natural Environment Research Council. There you go. It's bad, bad, bad. We already know this, though. Again, if you have been playing along at home or paying attention at home or in your bunker or in your mobile home or wherever it is that you're looking at climate change news, if you're playing along at home, you already know. It's real bad. We're flirting with a blue ocean event every single year. We've just we kind of have just missed having a complete loss of sea ice in the Arctic I'd probably say over the last 4 or 5 years, where we probably should have already had a blue ocean event, and we have just, for whatever reason, had a bit of a reprieve, but that reprieve will be short-lived. You can be sure of that. And so how many more years until we have an actual blue ocean event, which in turn where he about to poo? Siri Iriot says 28 TN is 28,000 kilometers cubed of ice. I thought that was TN was trillion. But thank you. It's a lot of ice, any way that you you want to count it up. 1,000 kilometers cubed of ice. That's a lot of ice. Oh, that is a nice cup. Thank you, Sandy. Sorry, guys. Just, John Allen says you're watching from your small studio pad. Yeah. Siri Iriot says, there's a problem when you're measuring in tens of thousands of cubic kilometers. Right. But thank you for the clarifying. I just assumed TN was trillion, but whatever. Thank you. My bad. Rockfin, do we have any more Rockfinners? We have Poppy Davis and Urban Hermit, some premiums, hanging out on Rockfin. Very exclusive club. But when you get a chance, guys, go sign up for an account, a free account at Rockfin, ROKFIN.com, and you can watch me for free on Rockfin. Nazmanab says the CIA agent told me to spread climate misinformation. Okay. All right, let's move on. So Poppy posted a link to this. I feel like, we definitely talked about this a few months ago. Or maybe it wasn't that long ago. Maybe it was only about a month or two ago. We were talking about lack of aerosol masking effect due to COVID impacting or not impacting the overall global temperature. That was the conversation. I don't know whether we looked at this. Maybe, Poppy, maybe you can tell me whether this was something that we referenced or not, or something I referenced or not, or maybe I haven't referenced this, but this is very interesting. This is from Geophysical Research Letters. Minimal climate impacts from short-lived climate forcers following emission reductions related to the COVID-19 pandemic. But here's an interesting, I'll show you guys this if you want to see it. If you want to look at it too, please do. So here is the plain language summary of this abstract. As a result of the global COVID-19 pandemic, unprecedented lockdown measures have been imposed worldwide to reduce the spread of the disease, causing huge reductions in economic activity and corresponding reductions in transport, industrial, and aircraft emissions, as well as lowering emissions of greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide. This has resulted in a dramatic reduction in the emissions of pollutants that also affect climate. In this study, we have used state-of-the-art computer simulations to quantify how changes in these components are likely to impact the chemical makeup of the atmosphere and the likely short-term impacts on climate. Despite large decreases in nitrogen dioxide and atmospheric particles, we find these changes result in a very small impact on the energy balance of the atmosphere, but one that would act to cool the planet without considering the knock-on impacts on clouds, which we cannot be confident about. However, these effects are all likely to be short-lived if emissions return. Is this the one, is this an article that we referenced before? I don't know. Darn it. Guys. So, John Allen says there was a big worldwide sandstorm last June, masking. The decreased activity wasn't more than 17% overall. No citation. Sorry? Okay. So, okay. Terry Erie, it says TN does mean trillion. Okay. Okay, got it. Don't mess with me, man. Okay. Anyways. I was right, I was wrong, I was right all along. Who knows? Anyways, this goes back to the, obviously referencing and going back to the discussion that we were having. Did we really see any large jump in temperature? some places regionally did see a large jump in temperature, but overall, were we just on the general warming curve of climate change this last year, or was it affected in any way, shape, or form by loss of global masking, therefore, increasing temperatures? So what we know, this is what we know. This is what we know straight up without any equivocation, is that we know that we didn't see a wild jump in temperatures. That did not happen. So, if you want to just, if you're looking at the trend line of temperatures and you're going up in 2020, okay, yes, very hot year in the run of years, in the last 5 years, all of this has been happening. We've been going up in temperature. That is all very true, but that is, pre-COVID. We were already on this level. So, yes, 2020, very hot year. Of course, without COVID or without the lack of emissions, that would have happened anyways. That's what I'm saying. That, there's no, it's, in the scheme of things, in the average, in the global yearly average temperature average, and in the scheme of where we've been going in the rate of warming, last year was not an extreme anomaly as far as warmth. Yes, you can say it was a La Nina year. Again, the warming trends speak to the fact that we are just getting warmer, and that we are going to overcome, the warmth is going to overcome, La Nina oscillations. So that we know for a fact that, overall the temperature did not jump dramatically, extremely, insanely. So it's, I think it's debatable. I think it's a debatable issue. Now, did we see enough loss of emissions? And they say this in the paper. There weren't enough of a lack of emissions or loss of emissions to really affect something one way or the other. So again, it's still very debatable. But the reason why I bring that up, the reason why I bring all of this up, and so what they said in this paper is that it could actually lead to cooling. Could actually lead to cooling. The lack of these emissions or aerosols in the air. That there was actually a cooling effect, but again, we didn't see enough of a drop in emissions for it to really matter one way or the other. So I'm just saying, I don't know. Again, I think that there are many factors involved. It's obviously a complicated scenario, but again, the idea that you can't lower emissions because that's it, it's all over, I feel is becoming a shakier idea. It's, this has, for me, muddied the waters enough to know that this is not a this is how it happens, and this is absolutely how it's happening. So I think it's become a debatable issue. The global masking effect being, something that is just going to immediately kick in and heat up the planet, and that's it. We're going to just melt in about a year if we try to lower emissions. I think that's a debatable idea. However, Keith Hayes, good point. The CO2 bathtub fills. However, if you just keep on pumping emissions to the air, we're definitely going to get hotter, right? So if we keep doing the things we're doing, we're definitely screwed. So the idea that we can't stop doing what we're doing because we're definitely screwed, I think is, whatever. If you're given two doors, the old problem of having two terrible things behind each door. Well, the known is that if we keep doing what we're doing, What we're doing is we already see the effects of doing what we're doing. That's the known. The other one is the unknown. I'd say let's go for the unknown because we know the unknown is bad. In my mind, that's just what I think we should be doing. We should be, fighting like hell to save the planet. We should be fighting like hell to lower emissions. We should be fighting like hell to figure out, what it is that we're going to do, what combination of regreening, agricultural regeneration, lowering emissions, and, maybe a small, tiny bit of technology in order to help along the way. Non-destructive technology as much as possible. That's what we should be doing. What we shouldn't be doing is just like, we're screwed. That's that. That's, to me, extreme negligence. As negligent as you would be if you were a doctor not telling a patient that they're screwed. That's negligence in the extreme. So that's why I don't count myself. I'm pretty doomy, but I'm not a doomer. And why I don't really I don't know. I get it. I get the doom as much as I get anything else. But I don't count myself a doomer, and I really kind of don't really have a lot of patience for people that's it. It's over. I mean, when we're sitting here, it's like, you're alive, you're in a building, maybe the building's on fire, but you're just that's it. There's some windows around. There's a fire escape, but it might be kind of hot, but you're just, instead of looking out the window and waving for help or, trying to, can I get some cell service? Maybe I could put some rags on my hands and climb down the fire escape because the fire escape is hot. Instead of doing that, you're just going to sit down and go, that's it. We're done. That reaction to me is just completely insane. But whatever, because we're still here, because you're still, if you're still alive, when you're crispy and it's all over and that's kind of when it's all over. That's when you're like, well, that's it, or maybe when you're engulfed in flames and your clothes are on fire and then there's absolutely no way of you getting out, then that's when you could, but I mean, seriously. Hunter Z, we are not doomers, we are the realists. Well, hold on though, but are you a realist, Hunter Z? If you're alive, right? I mean, I don't know. We can make up all the analogies and all the scenarios. Again, if you're still alive and you're trying to figure out a way out, I don't know, and maybe there are some possible scenarios, but you're still alive. Sitting down and going, that's it, we're done. That's not real. That's not reality. That's stupidity, straight up. So, I mean, I can't really, if you can't see how stupid that is, I don't understand. Rich China says, Kevin, you're young. Not really. Young enough, but I'm just saying, whatever. Hunter Z said a 16-year-old made me say that. Okay. I just, and I'm not really and I don't mean that I don't mean that to be shitty. I'm just saying it's slightly weird to me, if not idiotic. I'll add idiotic on top of that. It's slightly weird to me that there's still so much of the earth, that's functional right now. Jacob Gordon says, mathematically speaking, math changes all the time. Jacob Gordon, math like science is an ever evolving practice, right? Did math stop 100 years ago? Did math stop 10 years ago? Did everybody figure out all the math equations and go, that's it, we're done with all the math? No. There's still equations being figured out, quantum theory, whatever, string theory, all kinds of things being worked on, figured out, tested, tried. Math is evolving. Science is evolving. 100 years ago, the things that they thought were absolutely true in science ended up changing. So, I'm just saying, fine. I see the predicament of it, but I also don't see it as completely as a predicament. And so, Jeffy Daniels says, "Go, Kevin. You're talking truth to power." Absolutely, I'm talking truth to power. That's right. Straight up. I mean, 100Z, I raise you. I'm double that stupidity. Okay. Yeah, the biggest impediment to us getting out of this situation is ourselves. How's that for some depth? How's that for deep spiritual messaging? The only thing in the way of us having a future is ourselves. Anyways, yeah. Basil Peterson, Euclid figured out a lot with a compass and a ruler. No, I mean, Andy the gardener, though, that's not what I'm saying, though. Unless, I don't know if you're saying that to somebody else. You said there's so much inertia in the system, the size of a planet, that most stuff still being okay is a very dangerous way to look at things. Not necessarily. Yeah, there's, we're on a really bad trajectory, period, straight up. I'm just saying, the idea that the idea that you would stop and just go, that's it. That's all. I feel is somewhat lazy. Anyways, somewhat lazy, somewhat cowardice. But that's just me. It's unimaginative. It's uncreative. It's just like, my dog is a cool black dog, yes. But however, I do want to stay in reality about where we are, how bad things are, for sure. Yes, I know about the Mirrors Project. Yeah, and I feel like we should be trying all avenues. Gene, lazy and fear-based avoidance. It is. But anyways, that's all I'm trying to say. Lastly, guys, I don't want to go on and on today. Jem Bendel tweeted out this from Rolling Stone. How climate change is ushering in a new pandemic era. Kind of, this has been pretty widely talked about topic. After COVID, kind of in the new COVID climate change era. And this is a Rolling Stone article, so it's super long. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just going to read a section of it. And then I'm going to leave you all. The reasons for this new era of pandemics are complex, but as Fauci and Morens point out, one of the main drivers is the climate crisis, which is shaking up the natural world and rewriting disease algorithms on the planet. Indeed, thawing permafrost in the Arctic is releasing pathogens that haven't seen daylight for tens of thousands of years. The Vibrio bacteria that causes cholera, a diarrheal disease that haunted big cities like London and New York in the 19th century and still kills tens of thousands each year, thrives in warmer water. An even more deadly strain of the same bacteria, Vibrio vulnificus, while rare, has been detected more and more frequently in bays and estuaries on the East Coast, particularly around Chesapeake Bay. Vibrio vulnificus, if you happen to eat shellfish, might give you a bad stomachache. In rare cases, it can be fatal. If the bacteria gets in a cut or wound, however, it becomes a flesh-eating horror and kills 1 in 5 people who come in contact with it. Yeesh, I don't want any of this vulnificus. Vulnificus, I say. But the biggest impact may be on the emergence of new pathogens from animals. Through intensive agriculture, habitat destruction, and rising temperatures, we are forcing creatures to live by the cardinal rule of the climate crisis: adapt or die. For many animals, that means migrating to more hospitable environments. In one recent study that tracked the movement of 4,000 species over the past few decades, as much as 70% have moved, almost all of them seeking cooler lands and waters. Some animals have made big leaps. Atlantic cod have moved more than 120 miles per decade. In the Andes Mountains in South America, frogs and fungi species have climbed a quarter mile higher over the past 70 years. In Alaska, hunters are discovering parasites from more than 950 miles southeast in Canada, alive under the skin of wild birds. Tiny parasites adapt better to rapidly changing temperatures than large animals. Great white sharks are turning up as far north as Maine. A wild exodus has begun, writes Sonia Shah in The Next Great Migration. It is happening on every continent and in every ocean. During this wild exodus, these animals are likely to bump into new animals and humans they have never crossed paths with before. Carlson, the Georgetown biologist, calls these events meet cutes. Oh. Random encounters where viruses jump species and new diseases are often born. The vast majority of the new infectious diseases that have emerged in recent decades have come from these zoonotic pathogens, as they are called, with bats, mosquitoes, and ticks being among those most competent carriers of new viruses. When they jump to humans, we get pandemics like COVID-19. What's next? It's really a roll of the dice, says Raina Plowright, an epidemiologist at Montana State University who studies the emergence of new diseases. By one count, an estimated 1.7 million currently undiscovered viruses are thought to exist in mammal and avian hosts. Of these, more than 800,000 could have the ability to infect humans. We really need to be prepared from both a public health standpoint as well as from a scientific standpoint, Fauci tells me. The way we are now interacting on our planet with the environment will have a great effect on vector-borne diseases, those carried by animals like mosquitoes and ticks. We've just got to be prepared and understand that this is something of our own doing. Some of it we can reverse, some of it we can't, but we've got to make sure we are aware that this will happen, and our preparedness has to be commensurate with that risk. That is all I'm going to read of that. Indeed, if we are absolutely changing the planet on so many levels, whether all of the the oh my God, this is the new normal kind of messaging coming from the powers that be. All of that aside, the ways in which we are changing the planet, the ways that we are radically changing the planet, and how we are going to be able to react to those changes on a physical level, how those changes will change us, vice versa. We are in for a new normal. And so who knows what humans, will be able to, withstand or defend against, what our immune systems will be able to withstand or defend against in the near future as biosphere destruction continues. Black Bear's Muzza. What's up, Muzza? How you doing? New Zealand has one new South African strain. Odd, as the PCR tests can't tell the difference between common flu, SARS, MARS, or previous corona. Right. If the vax goes wrong, you can't sue anyone, just like 1921. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so there's a whole lot to get into there with that, Muzza. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. And we've seen recent admissions, public admissions, that the PCR tests are very flawed. That's not conspiracy. That's a public Oh, yeah, most of these positives, or a lot of these positives, not most, let me retract that. A lot of these positives, up to half, might be false positives. So if the tests themselves are so very faulty, how do you even know what's going on? Anyways. Sandy says, COVID just removed my brilliant doctor who never gave up on his patients, age 72. Sorry to hear that, Sandy. The Last Monkey says, I find dissing boomers to be simplistic. Yes. Because there's plenty of stupid millennials, too, and stupid Gen Zers, and there's just stupid people everywhere, right? Gen Xers, Zers, millennials, boomers. They're just a bunch of stupid people. So, like, making it all about, like, you guys are dumb is dumb. Let me tell you, the human capacity for stupidity is boundless. Yeah. So there are smart, conversely, there are really intelligent people of all different generations. You got to just find those intelligent people and listen to them. Millennials, Gen Zers, Gen Xers, boomers, etc. Whatever you are. But, boomers do tend to be, I have to say, boomers do tend to be pretty, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for to describe boomers? Myopic, I guess. Self-centered. I don't know. Here I go, just generationalizing. I'll stop that. Hunter Z, it would be cool if you want to sing us out today, Kev, or do the Cartman voice. Okay, guys, I'll do the Cart. I don't know if that's close. Listen. Thanks for the super chat, Hunter Z. I appreciate you. I got another one in here. Where'd the other one go? I thought I got one from Kuro Hikes. Something. Looks like there's another super. Oh, I see. That's a conversion rate. That's a $10 in. Do you guys have New Zealand dollars, or what do you call your currency? $10 in New Zealand dollars is $12.19. Interglacial Optimist says, Generation Stupid. Yes. There's been so many generations of stupid. I don't know. Where do you stop being stupid? Where's the stupid stop and the smart begin? That's what I'd like to know. Black Bears with Muzza, thank you for the super chat. Loey Appett says, I personally have heard many boomers not caring at all about the climate, not even for their grandkids. Well, you're right. Yeah. Because they're, because they're older. It's, older generations just tend to not understand the things that younger generations understand. So there is a lack of awareness, or a lack of intentional awareness. That doesn't mean that all boomers are like that. I know plenty of boomers who are intensely aware of the world around them and understand the problems. But yeah, you know, you get older, you get a little more fixed in your views, and then it's hard to break those views. So if you're a boomer, you've been around for a long time, this is just the way the world works. The world just works like this. This is what I think. This is my opinion. This is how my brain works. And I don't want anybody to challenge that, because if you do, then I'll have to change, or I'll have to think about something new, or something different, or something scary. I might have to, you know, I just want to be real safe in my bubble, right? That's kind of, you know, it's what happens when you get older. I just want to, you know, please, no more input. Anyways, Duncan McCown says, hey, we boomers created Earth Day. At least some of us. Sure. Poppy Davis, my boomer mom is intensely aware. That's cool. Very cool to hear. John Allen, I'm a caring boomer because I got the proper education on global warming. And there you go. All right, guys, I have run out of time. I'm going to get out of here. Before I go, Black Bear's Muzza says, our water company will be privatized next. Water will double within 9 years. Youch, yes, and that is very likely. Very likely. Because, yes, water is now going to be a commodity on the stock market, and everybody's going to just buy up all the aquifers and everything that's left, and then you'll have, like Octavia Butler described, in the near future, people paying, you know, what you would pay for a barrel of oil, or for a gallon of gas, or even more than that. People paying, you know, $50 for a jug of water or whatever. So yeah, it's going to become very expensive. All right, guys. Until tomorrow, peace.